Hi everyone, thanks very much for coming along today. I'm Peter from Wessex Archaeology, and it's great that you've been able to come along to test out the Iona 2 dive trail. So I'm going to take you through some of the dive trail materials that have been created for this. We've got 4 themed underwater guides, and to go with those, we've got 4 themed booklets that will take you through in more detailed information. So I'll just show you the underwater guides that we've got so far. So for those people who have never visited the wreck or who might be wanting to try out the dive trail for the first time, you can take the introductory guide underwater with you. This will take you via the Robert. You'll enter from the Robert down the shot line and then take a nice circuit around the vessel, around the wreck remains. And all of these numbers on this wreck plan show you the highlights of the wreck that you might be interested in. And if you want to check that you're in the right spot, you just have to flick over and see the photographs there, and they'll make sure that you know you're in the right spot. For the next dive, you might be interested to learn a little bit more about the shipbuilding that went into creating the Iona 2. She was a superior built ship, and so there's lots of interesting information about this vessel. So once again, you enter via the Robert, swim around the vessel, following the letters on this plan here, and it will show you in more detail about the engine. So the letters C, D, E here tell you more about the engine, and the boilers here, you can learn more about them, once again referring to the photos and the diagrams on the opposite page. For those interested in photography, it's really important to help make sure that the Iona 2 stays preserved for as long as possible so that divers can enjoy the vessel for much longer. So we've got a monitoring guide that's been set up. So anyone who's interested in taking photos can follow this guide, and looking at the icons of the cameras here, they'll show you the angles in which to take the photographs. There's 12 points around the vessel that you can then take photographs of, and when back on dry land you can upload them to Flickr and compare them to similar photographs. Once again, there's images on the back to help make sure that you're in the right spot. And finally, for people who are interested in the marine life, we've got a guide here that can take you through the highlights of marine life on the Iona 2. Here's all of the wonderful marine life that you might be able to see, because of course the Iona 2 is part of the marine protected area, so there's all sorts of wonderful marine life, fish, nudibranchs, anemones and corals, eels, and apparently there's even a lobster that's resident on the Iona 2 as well. So you might spot some of these in your travels. Now that's all very well for underwater, but to learn even more about these aspects of the vessel, you can refer to these booklets, which will be kept on board the ship. They're not really suitable reading length for taking underwater, but you can look at the introductory guide, which corresponds to the introductory booklet. And this takes you, once again, as a reminder here of all of the different points that you visited on the wreck, and it takes you through in more detail. You can learn about all sorts of aspects of the vessel, the marine life that lives there, the salvage that's taken place straight after the vessel was wrecked, even about some of the different monitoring points. This is just a brief tour around the vessel here, showing you all the different fascinating aspects of the wreck. If you'd like to learn more about the history, you can take the History and Shipbuilding Guide, and this will explain to you in more detail about how the vessel looked before she became a wreck. So the luxurious saloon cabins and the dining rooms that had wonderful velvet cushions and ionic columns. Apparently she was quite a sight to be seen. And more about the shipbuilding company, and also a bit more detail about how the vessel was actually constructed. And then of course it gets into how the vessel was lost. So there's information about the final trip of the Iona 2, about how there was a mutiny involved and all sorts of conspiracy theories about where the vessel was going because it was involved with the American Civil War. So you can learn all about that here. And then finally, for those who want to learn more about the different types of marine life here, there's the Marine Life Guide. And we've got some lovely photographs taken from around the marine protected area to show you what you might find on the wreck here. So that's the components that you're likely to encounter of the dive trail out on the water. There's also a website that you can go to, and YouTube and Flickr sites that will allow you to either see people's videos and photographs that they've taken before, or you can upload as well and contribute to the monitoring of the wreck.